Hey everybody, welcome to Always Bored, Never Boring. At this point, I'm pretty much coming to the end of my time with Elder Scrolls Call to Arms. I find the game to be very fiddly and overblown, and just too much effort for me to derive too much fun from. And I know that a few people feel that I have been somewhat unfair to the game, but actually I have spent a considerable amount of time with the game, trying to validate the amount of money I spent on it in the first instance. This was a game that I really wanted to enjoy, and I just haven't been able to derive that enjoyment from it. And yeah, it has been a disappointment. I'm not completely done with the game on my channel. I like some of the miniatures, so some of those will probably be getting painted up on the channel, especially as I'm going to be using those in things like Rangers of Shadowdeep and Dungeons and Dragons. And I wouldn't mind at some point trying to do another playthrough that shows a little bit more of the mechanisms for a 1v1 combat situation with actual skirmish forces, just to showcase a few more of the elements of the game, because there is a core to the game that I do like. It's just I find it far too difficult to drill into the game, separate out all the nonsense and the fiddliness that I don't think needed to be there to actually get to that kernel of good stuff that I enjoy. So there may yet be a few more videos, but generally speaking, I'm not planning on buying any more for the game, and it's really just more a case of finding other uses for the things that I purchased. However, I did think it might be interesting to do a quick video going through the roadmap for Elder Scrolls Call to Arms, which Modiphius posted on their blog a little while ago. So I'm just going to quickly blitz through what they've got planned for the game and share a few of my personal thoughts. The first thing is, at the beginning of August, they released a terrain set, but they didn't actually release a terrain set you can buy. They released files so that you could print a terrain set. The terrain in question is the Western Watchtower, which features in one of the early Skyrim adventures. And I find this a slightly bizarre move. I've mentioned numerous times that I think Modiphius have made this game very difficult to get into. I think they've made it a very convoluted game. They made the miniatures, the plastic miniatures, too difficult in some cases to assemble. They cut them into more parts than they really needed to. They produced things in resin and plastic, so there were immediately upfront decisions for people to make, and it might be people who had never worked with resin or plastic miniatures before, so it was like an extra confusion as to what they should get. And they did have some terrain available to buy in the initial first wave of releases, but now they get to the second set of terrain, the iconic piece of terrain, and it's not something you can buy as a physical product. You have to buy the files and then you have to print them at home. And I know that 3D printing is becoming a little bit more common. There are more people, particularly hobby enthusiasts, who have those machines and can print off those files. But it's another barrier to entry for those people who don't have access to those things. And they have said that they are investigating options to make the models available as already printed, so you can just buy them to paint them up. But as it is, this is a terrain element that some people won't be able to access, they won't be able to get hold of. And also, I don't really know a lot about 3D printing, and I don't know how much things generally cost, but they are charging for this file £35 in the UK, and I believe it's $40. And that seems a lot to me, but like I say, I don't know how much 3D files generally sell for, but it seems quite a lot for something. And I do get that this is a way to get other types of terrain out without having to factor in a lot of extra production and manufacturing costs and then distribution. It's another avenue, and it's not a bad thing, I guess, in and of itself, but I just feel like on top of the other barriers to entry that the game does present, for a game that has such a wide-reaching and appealing franchise behind it, I don't know. It strikes me as slightly peculiar. So that was the beginning of August. Later in the month, we have an Adventurer Allies pack. And I guess this makes sense because one of the things about Skyrim, about Elder Scrolls, are all those named characters that people love, all those characters that they want to see on the tabletop. And this particular adventurer set is Lydia, obviously, and then there is Carjo, the Breton Ranger, a Khajiit Thief, and an Orc Barbarian. So you get a couple of named people and some more generic allies. And that all makes sense. That is one of the things that people are going to want to see. They're going to want to see those characters. I'm sure everybody was crying out for Lydia as soon as the game was announced. I do wonder if perhaps they should have focused more up front on getting out more stormcloak and imperial units, because it is, I think, I don't know, this is one of the things that's confusing about the game, is they have these different modes. They have the delve mode, and then they have the 1v1 skirmish mode, and I do feel like first and foremost that the rules are more akin to a tabletop skirmish game than a solo or cooperative dungeon delve. So I feel like the upfront focus should be on fleshing out those two forces. They talk about wave 1 being the Civil War wave, where you're dealing with the Stormcloaks fighting the Imperials. Yet, at this stage, they're releasing adventurers rather than more units. So I think that's what I would have liked to have seen. And it is interesting to note that the cards for these new adventurers have not been released in physical form yet. That's mainly due to the global situation. Things have been pushed back, so they're releasing a PDF. Again, that can't be helped, and that's not their fault. But again, it's just another one of those little extra things that are not running smoothly, and it's another thing you have to go and download, print out, and mock up yourself to keep playing the game. Moving into September, there is another 5-pack of adventurers. These are adventurer followers. This is a set containing Janassa, Mercurio, Darkethus, Vorstag, and Mjol the Lioness. And again, I understand the desire to get those famous names out onto the tabletop. There's going to be a lot of interest in that. The other September release is a set of Nord Tomb scatter terrain. So you're looking at sarcophagi, stone pillars, pots, funerary urns, that sort of thing. Again, nice to have, but possibly not something that I would have front-loaded for the game, when there are other things that I think are going to be more important. I think your core army building units are the things that should be front-loaded into the game. And that's what we're getting in October. There's 3 releases lined up for October. One is the Chapter 1 Civil War card pack. That's 218 cards, including all of the unit cards for the new heroes, the adversaries and followers for Chapter 1, and then there'll also be new spells, upgrades, shouts, events, quests, traps. And I guess that is the pack where, if they do intend to reprint the unit cards from the initial wave of releases, the unit cards that had the misprinted block rules, I guess they would slip them in that card pack. That's where I guess it would make sense for them to do it. Of more interest in October are the Imperial officers and the Stormcloak chieftains. Looking at the roadmap as presented by Modiphius, there's General Tullius, Ulfric Stormcloak, Galmar Stonefist, the indomitable Legate Riquet, and each faction will also get an unnamed commander and some support figures like a Stormcloak Quartermaster, an Imperial Headsman, and a Priestess of Archay. So there's some pretty interesting stuff there, and I think those are the things that are going to make the skirmish game, the battle mode, more interesting. They're going to give you those warband building options. So I think for people who are really interested in the game and really interested in that 1v1 skirmish mode, those packs are going to be of particular interest. Moving into November, it looks like the focus shifts back to the delve mode, because it's all about Draugr, really. There's a Draugr Ancient set containing the Draugr Deathlord, the Restless Draugr Frostblade, and 3 hulking Draugr. And then there is a Draugr Guardian set, which includes 3 Draugr warriors with sword and shield, and 3 Restless Draugr with axes. There is also a Dragon Priest coming out. And then they are also looking at releasing a couple of PDFs that have new rules. One being the rules to field the Draugr faction as an actual army on the tabletop, which I think is a good thing. That's important for skirmish games, tabletop games, is to have other factions available. So that would increase the factions from Imperials and Stormcloaks to also include Draugr as well. So that's a good call, I think. And they're also looking at releasing a random dungeon creator at that point as well. Moving into December, and it seems a long time coming, but they are going to round out the Stormcloak and Imperial forces. There's going to be a box of Imperial Legion reinforcements, which includes heavy infantry and archers, and there's going to be a box of Stormcloak skirmishers, which introduces warriors with swords and Stormcloak hunters. They're also looking at releasing a product called Histories of the Empire, the Stormcloak Rebellion, which is a series of linked campaign missions, so that you can use all of your Imperial and Stormcloak forces to reenact that civil war. And then they are also looking at releasing the Thanehold saga, and this is something that I think if you've stuck with the game to this point, it could be really exciting. For me, and with my personal feelings on the game, I look at it and think, oh gosh, that's going to be something that's going to add a lot more fiddliness and bookkeeping and all that sort of stuff that I don't really enjoy. But I think for people who are really into the game, this is going to be a really interesting one, because it's a supplement that allows you to take a hero and evolve them over time through like a campaign with character progression, and it's going to include settlement building instructions, so you have an opportunity to actually build a community, build a hero, create a legend, and that is something that when I first heard about Elder Scrolls, and I was really excited about Elder Scrolls way back at the beginning of the year and even last year, I posted videos on how excited I was, and that is the sort of content that back then I would have been absolutely over the moon at the idea of that. I would have been very excited about it. And the last product that is coming out in December is, of course, a dragon. I would be expecting that to be a resin miniature, but it is the first really big enemy to fight. That's going to be an interesting one, because I am always interested to see new dragon miniatures. I do like dragons. You would imagine dragons would round out the wave. That would be the big climactic finish, but the wave actually ends on a little bit more of a whimper in January with a skeleton horde box. So it's just some extra skeletons to add to your Draugr forces. And then that's pretty much it. That's wave 1 over. And then we get just the smallest tease on what the next wave is going to be. Chapter 2 is called Steam and Shadow. So I would be expecting to see Dwemer automatons, and I would be expecting Falmer. So I think people who are really into Skyrim are going to be very excited about the prospect of what Wave 2 has to offer. As I said at the beginning of the video, for me personally, I just can't get into a situation where I'm enjoying the game, so I can't see myself picking up any more of this stuff. Maybe 1 or 2 of the miniatures if they're really nice. But generally, I look at this roadmap, and if I put myself back into me last year when I first heard about Elder Scrolls, that would look like an incredibly exciting roadmap, and I think anybody who's really into this game should be very excited about what is coming up. I think there's some exciting things. It's not necessarily all in the order I would have put it, and some of the things like the 3D printed terrain is not necessarily the way I would have done things, but nevertheless, this is a roadmap that does look interesting, and it does look like they are in it for the long haul. It does look like they are planning a steady stream of ongoing releases. They have their plans. They have something in place. They have a structure in place. I think it's good to have that kind of overarching long-term goal. And I also think it's fantastic that they have posted a roadmap. They have let people know this is what we're planning. This is what's coming up. Not happy with your stormcloaks at the moment? Don't worry, next month you're going to be getting some chieftains. Want more Draugr? Don't worry, they're coming a little bit later down the line. I think it's a really good thing and it's a generous thing, and I think every company should make people aware of what is coming up down the line. It allows people to put their hobby money where it needs to go. They can save it. They can go, okay, I'm not going to buy that this month because next month there's the stuff that I really want that's coming down the line. And I think that's the best way to approach a hobby product. Everyone wants to know when the stuff they really like is coming out. So fair play to Modiphius. Hopefully, people who are enjoying the game will be very excited about the things they have coming up. But that is it from me for now. Thank you so much for listening. If you've enjoyed this video, please consider pressing the like button. If you have really enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing if you don't already do so. And hopefully, I'll see you all again very soon. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye.